Number 6, I've got x, y, I have x, y. I call those the 1s and I call those to the 2s. And it could be the other way around. You could call these the 2s and you can call these the 1s. And why can you do that? Because if I count down and right, that's the same as counting up and left. That's why it doesn't matter if these are the 1s or if these are the 2s. What matters is xy, xy. The other thing that matters is that if you take these two numbers and subtract it, so m equals the change in y over the change in x, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, I'm going to have 20 minus 1. 20 minus 1. Here's where I have to be careful. I said 20 minus 1. When I do the changes of x, I do not do 11 minus negative 8 because I would draw my arrow this direction. You want the arrows to be pointing the same direction. So 20 minus 1, and then we're going to have negative 8 minus 11. Negative 8 minus 11. And why are there minuses right here? Because that's part of the formula. So 20 minus 1 is 19. Negative 8 minus 11 is negative 19. 19 divided by negative 11 is just negative 1. If you want to say negative 1 over 1, because you want to keep it as a fraction, you can do that too. Number 7. Okay, so I have m equals the change in y over the change in x, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's going to be 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1 divided by negative 13 minus 7. Negative 13 minus 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. Negative 13 minus 7 is negative 20. 0 divided by any number is 0. Okay, and then on this one, I've got the slope equals the change in y over the change in x, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So I'm going to just show you that here it does not matter. Here's my x numbers, right? Here's my y numbers, right? So I'm going to subtract this way this time. Why? Just because I can. So I'm going to have 19 minus from the formula, and now I'm saying I'm going to subtract this way. So 19 minus negative 9 divided by, and then now I need to go this way. And I'm going to have 1 minus from the formula, negative 2. So here I have 19 minus negative 9, which subtracting a negative is going to really be adding. So that's going to be 28. And then I have 1 minus negative 2. I'm really adding. That's going to be 3. And there's no reason for me to change that into a decimal or anything because this represents the slope. Okay, and then finally, find the slope if you are given a line. Okay, the ones where we want to find the slope given the line, we want them in y equals mx plus b format. We want them in the slope-intercept form. So we need to solve for y. So I've got x and y on the same side. I need to isolate my x. I'm going to get y equals 3 minus x. I'm only finding the slope. So here the slope is the coefficient of x, the number that is being multiplied by x. Here the number being multiplied by x is a negative 1. And that's all you do for it. Number 10, I'm going to solve for y. So I need to isolate the 5y. I need to eliminate the 6x. So I will get 5y equals negative 20 minus 6x. Or you could say 5y equals negative 6x minus 20. Does not matter. But I don't need this to be 5. I need that to be 1. So I'm going to divide everything by 5, and I will get y equals, now what's the coefficient of x? It's negative 6 divided by 5. Negative 6 fifths x. Negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. I'm only asked for m. I'm not asked for the y-intercept. I'm only asked for m. That's the number being multiplied by the x. Okay, almost done. When we have x equals negative 3, don't forget that is the same as saying no matter what number I write down for x, it has to be the number negative 3. X equals negative 3. Okay, if we have x equals negative 3, the graph of that would look like this. So here's my x, here's my y. I have negative 3. It does not matter what the y numbers are. So I could have negative 3 positive 1. I could have negative 3 positive 2. I could have negative 3 0. I could have negative 3 negative 1, negative 3 negative 2. Right? These numbers do not matter. The only numbers that matter is writing down negative 3 for the x. Well, that's going to give me a vertical line. So if I move from this point to this point, I move down by 1. Okay, so I went down by 1. However, how do I move left or right? I don't. So that means my change in x was actually 0. I cannot divide by 0. That is undefined. And then finally, I have y equals negative 3. That means, oh, this was a coincidence. Oh well, doesn't matter. Okay, if I graph that, what that is trying to say is that it does not matter what number x is. Ooh, did you notice I put do not matter for the last one? Please don't tell your English teacher on me. Does not matter what the x values are. Let me fix that. I might be the math teacher, but I want to still speak and write intelligently. Okay, so it does not matter, and over here the x values do not matter. Okay, so the values over here do not matter. So over here, what numbers could I have? I could have 0, negative 3. I could have 1, negative 3. I could have 2, negative 3. I could have negative 1, negative 3. Negative 2, negative 3. Right? So this is 1, negative 3, because this is the 1 right there. That's going to give me a vertical line. And we know that the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, where do I change? To go from here to here, I don't move up or down. So the change in y is 0, and then I can say that the change in x was 1, or any other number. 0 divided by any number is 0. So the slope for this one is 0.